let's get rolling. So today, we talk about lead follow-up, which is our third segment of Ignite. And the focus is going to switch to lead follow-up, where you can make or break your business. And we want to talk about going from probable business to profitable business. And that's what we're going to go over today. Or in this section, at least. So stepping back, who can define what a lead is? Go ahead.
A lead is someone who has the potential to buy or sell with you.
Okay, you're not wrong. Anybody else? So a lead is actually a person who has shown interest in the service you provide and that you have their contact information, although they are yet to engage in a two-way conversation. So the goal of lead follow-up is going to be to follow up that lead to enter into a two-way conversation. Okay. So what is lead follow-up? So lead follow-up is just as what we said, is engaging in that lead to get them into that second conversation, to convert them into probable business or profitable business. So by the end of today, what we want to go over or uncover. Second. Deal with that in a second. So we want to describe the benefits of establishing a system of lead follow-up. We want to apply the 19 Connect Touch campaign with leads. And then we want to explain the importance of cementing the relationship with their leads. So to start thinking about what you will learn today, let's consider some questions that you might have for lead follow-up and what you want to get out of this class. So type them into the chat if you can, or just take yourself off mute. What do you hope to get out of the lead follow-up class today?
I guess to better hone in, how to, I know there's probably a terminology for it, but like however many touches on average it should take or it's going to take to convert leads, or actually at that point would have been beyond it, but yeah, to not give up on something, but
Okay.
to make sure that that's not taking away from your active lead generation that's that obviously needs to happen on a daily basis.
Cool. Okay. Anybody else?
We have in the chat,
Okay. Strategy to get leads to engagement. Okay. Awesome. You're gonna cover that. That's
in the,
correct.
Chris,
Yes.
in the chat, we have a couple of answers. Strategies to get leads to engage and your best practices for follow-up thinking outside the box.
Awesome. Yeah, so we should be covering all of this actually. If for some reason we don't, at the end, ask your questions and we can dive into it if we have time to do that. All right, so jumping in to the next piece. Sorry, guys, just get this working the right way for myself. Okay, never mind that. All right, so we talked about defining a lead and follow-up. So another quick question, does lead follow-up apply only to a lead? So let me ask that again. Does lead follow-up apply only to leads? Shaking his head no. No, that's right. You're right. It doesn't only apply to leads. So every person in your database, whether it's a lead or a contact, should have some form of follow-up. They may not have a real estate need now, but when they do, we want them to make sure that they're immediately thinking of you. Okay, and we're going to talk about those ways that we're going to do that. So now consider this, are the people that you have in your database only in your real estate database? Probably not, right? So are you the only real estate agent they know? Also probably not. It's not likely. So how many other real estate databases are they in? And how do you get them to think of you first and stay top of mind? Right? That's the biggest thing. So that's why we want to understand how important the lead follow-up is and the touches you make to your database, because it's just as important as the time you put into lead generation. So there's a graph, and if you guys are in your book, I think it's in there about the life of a lead. Morning, Jason.
Good morning, Christopher. How are you, sir?
Good. Thank you. What's that?
Are we live?
Yeah, we are. So there's the life of a lead, all right? It's a graph that has waves in it. And at the top of that peak is at the point where somebody sells or purchases a home. All right. And then the minute they make that purchase, they are on that downward trend of the graph. Until they get to the bottom where they start thinking about purchasing or selling a home again. Now, the average time between these waves is about 7 to 10 years. Okay. So if you were to receive a lead at the top of one of these waves, you would probably perceive that the quality of that lead is really good, right? Yes, right, because they're getting ready to purchase. But if you were to receive a lead on their way down or at the bottom, they're probably perceived as not a great lead, right? Well, that's the wrong way to think. So there is no bad lead. It's just timing of when that lead is going to be ready to purchase. And if you're going to be the person they think of when they need to sell or buy it. Make sense? Okay. Yeah, so as a real estate agent, following up with leads with frequency and intensity is the key to remaining in close emotional proximity. So as any lead approaches the top of the wave and are ready to purchase, they think of you. This is where the importance and value of lead follow-up comes into play. So let's talk about moving from possible business to profitable business. So think of leads that enter your database through lead generation as your possible leads. Then lead follow-up helps turn those leads from possible business into probable business with the end goal of being profitable business. So as you start putting these systems in place, you can better predict your business because you know that this business is going to turn into profitable. These leads are going to turn into profitable business. Sorry, I can't get that out. So this is an interesting statistic. The 2021 National Association of Realtors profile of home buyers and sellers details the opportunity that lead follow-up can provide to your business. They collected research that shows that when selecting an agent to use, 73% of buyers only talk to one agent. 82% of sellers only contacted one agent. So if you're the first agent in the door or top of mind, between 73 to 82% of the time, you're getting that business. I mean, those are some high percentage rates, right? So what are, again, and I'm going to keep asking the question, what are you doing to stay top of mind to make sure that when they need to buy or sell, they're thinking of you? Since the data shows that most buyers and sellers only talk to one agent before deciding to do business with them, what will you do to ensure that you are the agent for everyone in your database? So does anybody know what this topic is called when somebody's thinking of you? What do we label it as? To stay top of mind, what is another term for it? Anybody, let me see if anybody knows in the chat. So we refer to it as mind share. Has anybody heard that? Okay. So we want to make sure we're in there, being top of mind when they're thinking of selling or buying. So it's mind share. So how do we do that? So it's the concept of taking up space in people's minds through staying in close emotional proximity. This emotional proximity is a result of engaging in the touches with your database. So thinking back to the day you learned about lead generation, what touches are the strongest when it comes to relationship building? There's about 4 of them.
Phone calls,
That's one. What's another one?
text messages,
That's, and is that a weak one or a strong one?
medium,
Okay, I like that. What else?
Email.
Emails, is that weak or strong? Yeah,
Face to face.
physical man.
face to face, weak or strong? Yes. So your top 2 strongest points of contact are gonna be phone call and face to face. The other one's text message, email, you said direct mail and postcards, or whoever said that.
Sure.
Um,
Done it, yeah.
what's that?
Those are in person.
Yes, they are. There are ways to stay top of mind, but to convert people to an appointment, those are gonna be less effective. So while you will lead follow-up using a variety of touches, it's important to keep in mind which ones will be most effective as you follow up. And you should probably use all of them though. Okay, at some point, at some level. Because you can't always call every single person in your database. Sometimes that piece of mail or the text message or the email is gonna be something that keeps them and keeps you top of mind. We send out e-newsletters. I just talked to a client of mine yesterday. And he goes, I love your e-newsletters. He's like, keep them coming. I open up every one. I read every single one from top to bottom. He's like, and it makes him think of me. Yes, Monica.
What's in your e-newsletter?
What's in it?
Yeah.
Well-
What are you sending?
It also goes out to your database since you're on the team too. So
I don't even know.
you don't even know that's happening. But essentially what we have in our e-newsletter is monthly market updates of what's going on in the market. We have stuff that's going around town, like activities, and this is Halloween, so we had a bunch of like haunted houses in there and what's happening, you know, where they're at, any festivals of that nature. We have stuff about our team events that are coming up. And there's a couple of other things that I can't remember that we put in, but
So you have someone on your team that specifically creates this newsletter?
yeah. And then every month it gets set up. So, and we'll dive into it more as well with the 36 touch program. We're upwards of like 45 touches a year that we're doing for people in our database. Now, there's a difference, which we're gonna get into, which is the next section is 19 to convert, and then the 36 to 19 to connect, and then 36 to convert. So 19 touches to connect with a lead. And then once they become a lead, you put them on your 36 touch program to convert them into business. Now, there's scenarios with your follow-up plan where you could be in touch, in contact with somebody for years before they convert. I was telling Monica the other day, I've been talking with people for 2 to 3 years before they finally decided that they were ready to do something. So,
That's the beauty of tapping into
Can we explain to you the cost of not keeping in touch?
sure,
Pretty bad one.
yeah,
So, I had this is a while, right? You're going on probably 7 years ago. I've been doing this for 8 years.
yeah,
I had some family clients of mine, they wanted to see it for sale by owner. So naturally I said, did play when we wanted to see it. The house wasn't for them. It was a great house, right? In Wellington, awesome house. You should have sold, no problem.
yeah,
Okay, different time in the market, right? So I kept an eye on it and he dropped the price $25,000. So me, I said, okay, well, the commission is way less, even if you sold it at your full asking, or you see everything with math, right?
Yeah.
So I called him and said, well, look, you're not able to easily sell at that price, $375, no problem. So I can easily sell it for you. I don't know why you're not putting it on the market. He's like, well, you know, nobody was willing to actually sell for that price. He said, send me the documents. Sweet, greatest for sale by owner, right?
yeah,
So I send them the documents, okay? I sell a house in the day while I'm on the ski lift in Colorado.
okay,
Actually love it,
yeah,
right?
I do,
So I come back, okay? Come back, I end up meeting the guy at his personal residence, which happens to be the most lavish place I've ever seen. absolutely ridiculous, 8,000 square foot log home that's in, Overland. Owns hundreds of acres.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dummy Jason doesn't keep in contact with this guy because he just doesn't, right, for whatever reason. Well, the same family member sent me a text message yesterday, and it happens to be a listing of Zillow.
This is just yesterday?
Yeah, she sent me this listing on Zillow, and I opened it up, and wow, lo and behold, I see this house, we have to see this guy's house. For $15 million.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, that's sweet. What an idiot. Yeah,
So,
when he kicked in the car, I said, oh my God, you want to be sick for a day? So, and it's the commission is 1.5% is what the buyer broker count. So I'm assuming she probably did a straight 3% of that amount of money. So
Oh, sure.
just that amount was 200.
So I don't know if everybody heard that on Zoom, but Jason Hogue was just explaining the value of following up,
Awesome, not
and that he just lost out because he wasn't following up
a record.
on a $15 million listing that was a client of his years ago. So just add those numbers up at a 1.5% commission rate and what he just lost out on because he wasn't following up. So thanks for sharing that though, but that's it. And we've all been there. I've been there. I've lost so many deals because I haven't followed up correctly. And it's so important to put these systems in place so that you have some sort of touch and follow-up plan with anybody's. So just like your intention to be strategic with your lead generation efforts, you should be strategic with your lead follow-up efforts. Being thoughtful about how you will follow up and leverage the highest value touches that you yield the greatest result will help you convert leads at a higher level. So you guys have the fortune is in the follow-up Mindshare page in your participant guide. Is that in there?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, in ours it's,
Page
10.4.
10.4, okay, awesome. So Mindshare is gained through positioning yourself in front of your leads frequently with relevant and timely information. The goal is to open the door in two-way communication in addition to getting them to think about you and the time to think about real estate. So through Ignite, you've been introduced to the two different systems that engage your leads through Mindshare. So we just talked about it. It's the 19 to convert and then 19 to connect, 36 to convert. So is anybody in this room using any kind of conversion follow-up system lead? Anybody on Zoom? Just curious. What's that?
I said, I wish mine was more refined.
Yeah.
The answer is yes.
And the best thing is just to get something in place. It could be the simplest thing, as long as it could be one email a month right now. You know, but setting something up so that you're at least getting in front of them once a month is important. And then you can continue to add, refine. You don't have to do it all at once. It's just important to get something in motion. So the 19 to connect is made up of 4 phone calls, 12 touches that are either monthly emails, newsletters, market reports, videos, 2 touches related to promotional or direct mail, and 1 touch that is a client event or party. Okay. So the intent of these touches is to spread it out over the calendar year. So which equates about one touch every 3 weeks. All right. The goal of this communication is to establish the formal relationship and open up that two-way communication. So keep in mind that this is just a list and not perspective of the order you should complete them. So for example, the 4 phone calls will have the greatest impact if you spread them out once a quarter. And if you've heard, I don't know if we've talked about the DT-D2 program yet, but that is a system that is developed through KW to systematically touch your database. So it's already there.
What does that stand for again?
Is DT-D2 is called Do the Database 2. So they break it down every week, each quarter for 12 weeks is 2 alphabets, 2 letters of the alphabet that you call that's in your database. So it breaks it down really simple and simplifies it. So when do you think a lead should be added to your 19 to connect touch campaign.
Is that a question?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
When should a lead, what's that?
Just repeat it, please.
Yeah. When do you think a lead should be added to your 19 to connect touch campaign? Yeah. Immediately, right away. Shouldn't wait, get them in there and get them on it.
Because that, obviously there's the ability to have a certain type of response for those types of like immediate.
Yep.
Okay, so it's like a quick follow-up of, hey, thanks for taking the time to talk with me today. And then, as opposed to maybe a second of 19.
Yeah.
which would be some-
And here's the reason that's so important too, is so imagine if you got a lead right now. All right. And you didn't follow up with them. Well, their minds span is short too, right? Just think about if you're on social media and you're clicking through something, you're engaged for 30 seconds and you're on to the next thing. It's the same way. So if you don't respond to that lead right away or get them on something to open up that two-way communication, they could be already on their way to the next agent talking to them. If that agent's quicker to get into it. So it's speed to lead. Speed to lead. Any questions so far? Any ahas? Takeaways? Anybody on Zoom? Feel free to unmute yourself.
I have a question. When you set someone up on the, I get it's through commands with the 19 touches. And then you said from the 19 touches, it can go 36.
Yep.
Is that something you have to be conscious of to say, okay, they're at 19, now I have to turn. put it on
Well,
36?
no, that's a great question. So the 19 connect is 19 touches to initiate that two-way conversation with that lead. So this is assuming the lead came in, you haven't had a conversation with them yet. Okay, so that's what those 19 touches are set up to do, is to engage in communication. If you don't do that after 19 touches, there's a few things you can do. You can start from scratch again and start from touch 1. Or maybe they're not that motivated and you put them in the trash and don't worry about it anymore. That's your call, that's your decision, what you want to do. And the only time I really usually trash a lead is if I do talk to them and they just are like, I don't want to hear from you again, don't bother me, don't do anything, like that. So hopefully does that answer? What were you gonna say?
If at any point during those 19 touches, let's say on touch 3,
Yeah.
they respond and it converts from a lead
Yeah.
to an active, like reciprocating type of transaction.
Yeah,
At that point, do you have to plug in, or like obviously, like, just with anything you mean, you have to kind of manually move things over.
right,
So at that point, that's the call, like, okay, stop the 19 touch. And now I start this different type of swim lane, right?
exactly.
I gotta be consistent.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing with any of this is consistency over intensity. The more you're consistent with it, the more results that are going to show up for you. So, and that's with anything.
Yeah.
So with diets, with exercise, lead generation, no matter what it is, consistency always wins.
Yeah.
Let's see if there was any questions on Zoom. Yeah, smart plans are great. So definitely play around with your smart plans and get them set up in Command for your touches. So as you get started in the real estate and as you begin to generate leads, there's some things to consider you should make regarding your own lead follow-up plan. So the best practices page in your participant guide for brainstorming, you guys see that in there? The lead follow-up best practice page. So we're not going to do this right now. What page is that on? 10.5. Okay, so we're not going to do the activity right now just for purpose of time. Come back to this though and spend some time on this because this is going to really help with you setting that up. Things to consider when following up the leads are is matching the touch campaign with your strengths. So if there's stuff in your touch campaign that you're not a fan of, you don't like, doesn't really excite you, doesn't mean you have to do it that way. So you can get creative a little bit. I would still follow the simple guideline of what we're about to go over, but that doesn't mean you can't make some tweaks and changes. So go with your strengths. Be prepared when you reach out with the reason that you are calling or contacting the lead. So for example, sending market information is the touch prior to a phone call. So you send something out, and then when you call that person, you can respond or talk to them about, hey, I just wanted to see if you received that piece of mail I sent out to you. What'd you think? And then you can dive into their needs, their timing, and so on and so forth. So make sure that each time you communicate with the lead, they know that you are in real estate. They know how to reach you, and they know how to refer business to you. Those are huge. We should always be asking for referrals, even as uncomfortable as it might feel. It's more comfortable for you than it is for them. Know when you are going to complete your daily lead follow-up tasks. So this should be time blocked as separate activity from your lead generation time. Very, very important. Set and time block your lead follow-up time. Usually that should be right after your lead generation time. So if you're lead generating for an hour, 2 hours, at least 30 minutes to an hour for lead follow-up. Set your personal standard. Oh, what's that?
I'm sorry, could you go over those items that you just listed regarding when you were reaching out to a lead?
Yeah, are you
Yeah,
talking
whether
about? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So every time you communicate with the lead, make sure that they know you are in real estate, how to reach you, and how to refer business to you. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And then set your personal standard for speed to lead. What time frame do you expect yourself to communicate with the lead when you receive it? So is it within 2 minutes? Is it within 30 seconds? Is it within 10 minutes? Is it within 24 hours? That's probably way too long, just to let you know. I mean, it's, yeah, if you're not getting to that lead within the first 5 to 10 minutes, your conversion rate goes way down.
I have a life story that was kind of opposite of Jason.
Yeah,
I had a listing, there was $755,000 listing, which a friend of mine called me and said, hey, I know a guy who's thinking about selling his house, would you be interested in buying?
yeah,
I said, of course. Hung up the phone, called the company, got the listing,
nice,
sold the house himself,
nice.
so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the key, guys. I mean, if you get a referral from somebody and reach out to that person right away because it's fresh on their
And
mind.
that's what he told me. He said
Yeah.
that was my number one thing. He said I was interviewing with a few different realtors. And my number one thing is if they call, they need to call me.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and just like the statistics say, most of these people are meeting with one agent. So the quicker you can meet with them, I just had the same thing happen. It wasn't even a referral, it was an appointment I set. And they're like, oh, well, we're interviewing other agents. Well, I was the first agent they went out, or that first agent to meet with them. And after I was done, they were like, you know what, we don't need to meet with those other agents. We're just gonna go with you. I'm like, cool, let's get going. Yeah, right. So speed to lead. And when you are setting appointments, go for setting an appointment as soon as possible. So that day or the next, but if you can do it that day, that's what I would go for. Any other questions before I move on? Check. Yeah.
I have a scenario where I'm meeting with a guy, he's I don't know, nurse practitioner, or whatever, something high up at the clinic, a personal friend of mine, who's owned 2 years. So everybody wrote a book, read his book, I said, I'd like to meet with you to
Yeah.
talk about your book. So we have a coffee meeting next week. But I also, in the back of my mind, I want to get, he's a great contact to get referrals from. How do I feel almost like big, like I feel a little icky, like I'm going in this for two reasons, like I genuinely want to talk to him about his book, but on the other hand, I'm like, I want to make sure he knows that he, you know, he comes across any doctors, nurses, anybody at the
Yeah.
clinic who's looking to move, that he remembers, me,
So,
you know, and so I feel,
so
because I am going in it.
if you know the Ford example, the Ford conversation, that's a great way to engage in conversation to get you to ask questions about them, and in turn, usually they start asking things about what you're doing. So that they think real estate, we can start talking about real estate, and most times, if they know you're in real estate right now, say 99%, whether you're good friends with them or not, are asking what's going on in the market. It's like the topic of conversation with anybody. The other thing I would do is, he sounds like he might be interested in investing in real estate at some point in his career. Give him the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. Hey, if you ever thought about investing in real estate, this is a great, I can help you if you know of any friends that are interested in investing too. I'd love to talk with them as well. So you're leaving something with them, and if they see it, they're gonna think of you.
I just,
What's that?
no, I just want to be, you know, genuine. I don't know, I just haven't, I want to bring this up of real estate.
You're in real estate?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does,
Yeah.
but
So just say, hey, I brought you a gift. I, thought this might be of value to you. If you have any questions or want to talk more about it, let me know. I'm here to help.
so it's okay. Like I said, I'm going in hoping to get some of these from him. Is that an okay mindset?
That's it. That is absolutely okay. Yeah, it's a great mindset. No, that's so. It's not slimy at all. And that's just, and don't take, that's just your own mindset, right? Is that you feel that way. It's totally understandable. I mean, a lot of people do, but it's not slimy at all. As long as it's case with it.
So I asked every doctor, but I don't think that he feels that two doctors that go see them.
Slimy,
What's that?
slimy. Doesn't want to feel slimy. Slimy salesy.
Yeah, slimy salesman, no. All right, so moving on, the 19 to connect touch plan, we just kind of talked about. Do you guys have the slide in your book that shows you the different touches for the 19 to connect? Was that
10-6.
10-6? It goes over the 4 calls, 12 emails, all that stuff. Okay. So review the details on the slide. So this is where you can kind of get creative with your own connect touch plan. The first 2 are probably the most important, and not to play around with those. So that's the annual occurrence and the activity. The plan can change a little bit. So it doesn't have to be market reports, for instance. It could be something different. It could be what's going on in the community. Now, there may be costs associated with some of these things, so that's a decision you have to make if you're willing to put the cost into some of these touches. So that would be like direct mailers, calendars if you sent them out. I think they say team schedules for sports teams. So things of that nature. All good things, but weigh the cost if it makes sense for you or not. And then write these out. And then next step after you write them out is get them in your calendar. So you don't forget when to do them. And if they're mailers, like say if you want a mailer to go out April 1st, put it on your calendar, mailer goes out April 1st, but put it for probably March 1st to have it done by. So that you're not scrambling to get it all put together.
Is that something you can put, like obviously to hold yourself accountable, but is that something you would have, tagged or it'd be a part of your drip campaign or touch campaign so that once that time frame lapses, it is completed in your database and you can just kind of out of sight, out of mind, like, okay, obviously I've been on top of it, all the got sent out, but I don't have to go back in like.
Yeah, you can set all these up in Command too for reminders and things of that nature. So I mean, the technology is there for us to use it, and there's so much we can do with it. It's just getting in there and using it, putting it to use. All right,
Fast and loose, sorry.
no worries, you're good. So when you have generated a lead and captured their information, you can then talk to them. If you haven't heard back and you don't know how much, and you don't know much about the person, then your communication will be broader, focusing on range of values. So this is when you start connecting with people, is really diving into what you need to learn about them and what they need to learn about you. So your value proposition is going to be big. So making sure you're portraying what that is. And if you're newer, you can use company statistics and company numbers. So you don't always have to make yourself feel like you're a new agent. And definitely utilize that. We have a ton of tools and reports for you guys to use so that you look and sound like you've been doing this for a long time. Okay. So we know that people are more likely to respond when the message you are communicating feels personal and relative to them. So as you engage with your leads, you can uncover how to serve them better and learn what they're interested in. As you learn this, you segment your leads into more specific groups, which was covered on day 6 of Ignite. And you can communicate more detailed and value-based information. So relevant conversations have more value, are timely, and lead to greater opportunity for future conversation. So look beyond the who when you contact a lead. The most basic way to start doing this is to craft your message based on the source the lead was generated from. So for example, if the lead came in through a social media post about first-time home buyers, sending them an investment property newsletter might not be the most relevant piece of information for them. Once the door is open for two-way communication, use conversations to find their motivation for engaging with your business, what their timeline is, and possibly their interests, and then use that information to group them together. So turn to the communicate with value page in your participant guide. So once you know the source of the lead, you can narrow your range of value. Knowing the source of the lead helps inform you on how you compare a value with your communication. For example, a lead generated through a client referral will be communicated differently from a lead that came in from a phone call. So it's really, you really want to understand where these leads are coming from. So tracking them is very important, okay? Because that's going to allow you to determine what information is most relevant for them, right? So there's an activity to do, and again, for sake of time, I'm not going to do this right now, but I encourage you to go back and go through this activity. So,
Hey, Chris,
yeah,
I got a question for you. So often when we think about lead sources, we're thinking SOI versus referral versus Zillow or whatever. It's more the true origin, whereas this has it kind of the medium. It was a call or a text. Can you help clarify as they go back and do this activity later, how you would think about that?
so let me see if I'm understanding, because I might be looking at something. What are you looking at right now, Mark?
I'm looking at 10.7, the communicate with value page, that kind of gives the breakdown of the lead source. So in the example, it does incoming call or text, and then the questions or statements to use with communication. Is that what you were having us look at?
Yeah, that is, but so that is not what's on my page though.
Yeah, I know that the two versions are a little bit different.
Yeah, so ask that again so I can better understand, sorry.
Yeah, no, so the example that they give is related to how it came in. Oh, it was an incoming call or text, and then what questions or statements should you use? Normally, when we think about source, it's more related to kind of truly where they came from. Oh, this is from my personal sphere. This is a referral from a friend. This is someone from my networking group. Do you want to clarify as folks kind of dive in?
Yeah. So, okay, so now I understand. So I think they need to add that extra layer though. So what is that incoming call or text coming from? Is it coming from the social media post? Is it coming from, a Facebook ad you put up? Is it coming from a buyer seminar, whatever the case may be? But I think what's most important is the questions you're gonna ask related to that lead source. So let's say you do get a phone call from, the next example that you put in there is phone call from Facebook lead. Well, we still want to find out the similar relative information. So
Sure.
what is their need, right? What is their time frame? What, and it's in here, what will this do for you and your family? So asking those general questions to make sure you're going to be able to provide the relevant information for them moving forward.
Got it. Thank you.
That help?
Sure does.
Thanks. Okay. So. Let's see, what was that? So it says here too, first consider the lead sources that you already have in your database. So if you aren't sure where to start with referrals, open houses, social media, since those are activities you have learned about or engaged with in Ignite already. Yeah, let's just give you more examples. So what are you thinking about selling? Tell me more. What would that do for you and your family? So record your top lead sources that you're focusing on as well in your participant guide. So we should really only be focusing on anywhere from like 2 to 4 lead sources at a time. Because once we start getting over that, we just kind of get lost in the shuffle with everything. There's not really any strong consistency there. So brainstorm those and write those statements or questions that you could use when you're communicating with those segments of contacts. So for a call, so this is exactly what we just went over. Any questions with that? Mark, great question. Any more questions with that activity? Because this was still kind of going through that activity we're going to do. And actually, you know what? Yes, so we're moving pretty good right now. So why don't we actually do this one right now? I think this would be a great one to start with. So take about 5 minutes, go through that activity, and then we'll come back and we'll ask some questions and get some ahas from it. Everybody good? So, oh, go ahead.
I have a question. Would you repeat that forward? I'm gonna.
Yeah, so forward method,
The family occupation.
family, yeah, family, occupation, recreation, and then dreams.
Okay.
So thanks for taking a few minutes to do that. What were your, some ahas or takeaways or things you want to share that you came up with? More questions?
A lot of the questions over here were very much the same for the lead sources. I think the significant differences came between sphere contacts and leads that you don't know.
Yeah, so what's the question then? What the lead source is, or what are the ways to engage?
Difference in how you respond.
Hmm. Yeah, when
So
it
you
comes to
wanna-
that, oh, go ahead.
We talked about asking about pre-approvals. Are you working with another realtor? How did you hear about me? What other things did we? The big why, what's their motivation? Yes.
Yeah, and those are all great things. When you know where it's coming from, you're gonna know what questions to ask a little bit better. So we were just talking about if it was a referral that came in. So you could possibly start with the Ford method, which is family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. So asking about, or family and friends rather is the first one. How do they know the person that referred you? You know, how did they like the experience? You know, you can start talking about their friendship and all that kind of stuff. And then getting into what they do. And then talking about, you know, what they need or what their needs are for real estate right now. So it's just engaging in the conversation the right way. Now, if it's an investor that's calling off of a Facebook ad, well, totally different conversation, but we can kind of set it up the same way. So how long have you been investing? How many properties do you have? What areas are you looking to do? What price point are you trying to stay within? What's your overall goal over the next 2 to 3 years with investment properties? Just gathering as much information as you can so you can be the best source for them, resource for them. Does that help? So I'm gonna continue moving on then. And you should be in your post lead follow-up page in your participate guide at this point. So once you follow up the lead and you have permission to have the two-way conversation, what do you think happens with that person now?
After it's cemented.
No, we're getting to cemented. We're not there yet. So you got the permission to have the conversation with them. What happens next? Or sorry, you have the conversation. And you obtain the permission to communicate with them. So what do you do next?
Get their info. I mean, well, you might already have.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have
Get all of it if you don't have it.
yeah. So we're gonna move them to that 36 touch product at that point.
Okay.
So you talk to them, you have all the information. Now we move them in. So you're gonna probably, if you're in command, you do that manually. You have to move them into that 36 touch program.
Now, within that 36 touch program. Knowing what type of customer or potential client you're working with.
Yeah.
You know, they're likely going to opt out or opt in to certain things, so I guess there's a broad net of viable and usable information that we will have available to them, but like, if they don't want some of that.
Yeah.
Then do we have like, on the 36, we got like 45 different types of.
Yeah, I mean, so
ways of-
if you get people that opt out of emails, you still have 20 some other touches that you're still doing. And then you
Oh,
can,
that's within smart plans and command.
well, yeah, and we'll touch on the 36 to convert a little bit. But if they get rid of your emails, I mean, that's a big touch. So then what else can you supplement that in with so that you're still getting it to them 36 times? Is it more phone calls?
Yeah.
You know, is it more mailers? Is it more texts? Whatever the case may be. Okay. Or is it calling them up and say, hey, I noticed you unsubscribed from our email. Was that an accident? I don't know. Get them back on it. What's that?
Call them out.
Yeah, why not? I mean, I'd rather know if they're serious or not, because they're like, no, you know what? I don't need you. I'm not gonna talk to you. Just take me off everything. Or they say, oh, God, I'm so sorry, or maybe they just say, I just don't want emails. You know, at least you're finding out. All right, so you achieved the purpose of the 19 to connect. We converted the lead to the 36 touch program. We had that two-way conversation. Connecting with the leads does not necessarily mean that they will do business with you, or that your relationship is as strong as it could be. So that is why we need to continue into the other touch campaign. So whether it's a lead or a contact in your database, every person should be on a touch campaign. This is how you'll gain and keep mind share while continuing to do all the jobs of a real estate agent. So now, at some point where a lead opens the door for that two-way conversation, you must cement the relationship. So this is kind of what you were just asking about your doctor friend. So everyone in your database should be cemented right when you transition into that 36 to convert. So the question is, what do you think the purpose of the one to cement touch campaign is?
Say that again, the one.
What do you think the purpose of the one to cement touch campaign is? Actually, I love this and I want to start implementing something like this.
I'll chime in, Chris. I think there's a number of things we could say, but in my mind, the main thing is to get buy-in for your follow-up. You know, you don't want to surprise them with a 36 touch plan if they're like, I don't even remember that guy's name. But if you say, hey, you know, enjoyed the connection today, here's what I'll do. Is it okay if I continue to provide value and stay in touch with you? For them to give thumbs up to that, frees you to continue to bring contribution without feeling slimy, as we discussed before.
Yeah. So Mark, what's something that you could do? What's a cement touch?
Put me on the spot here.
No.
Ken just said just a thank you. Being warm and grateful to them is something for sure.
Yeah. So a thank you card, a handwritten thank you card.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That goes a long way. How many thank you cards do you guys get in the mail? Right. And what happens when you do get one in the mail? Yeah.
They stick around a little longer than mail.
Yeah. So the cement touch is a high value touch that offers a strong first impression and sets the tone for your relationship together. Whatever you choose should serve more than one purpose. So this touch should tell them about the service you provide, help set up a conversation for later, serve as a reminder for the interaction, and then tell them how to refer business to you. See how that's a common theme with all this? It's telling them how to refer business to you. So important. So another one that they talk about in the book here, actually, let me see. Yeah, we can do this one. I think we're okay. So let's take 2 minutes to brainstorm. If you want to partner up, just grab a partner. We're going to take 2 minutes to talk about other ways you can do a one-touch cement campaign. So take 2 minutes, come up with some ideas, and then we'll talk about them.
a small.
But I'll ask them, hey, do you mind if I put you on?
Right.
And stuff
Yeah.
like that, so I can keep into contact with you, you'll ask.
Yeah. Let's bring it back, guys. I can get everybody back. We can wrap up, guys, everybody. Good conversations. I love it. So let's, so everybody here is really in good conversations about this stuff. I love it. So let's hear some ideas, ahas from this activity and some examples that you can share of your One Cement campaign.
I have a customer who said, yes, he wanted to buy, he's a first-time homeowner,
Yeah,
but I know that he's listening to all the media and a lot of negativity.
sure.
And what I began doing is finding information. I was sharing with him about, there's one program that I followed, and it was called Current Matters, and it
Yeah.
deals with real estate, and I was following that before I became a realtor.
Yeah,
So I started forwarding, I said, would you mind if I send you pertinent information, good information,
yeah,
and truth versus what you're hearing on television? And he said, sure, he would love that. So I said, I will call you periodically until you're ready, since you're saying definitely you want to buy.
Yeah.
I'm available for you. He said he loved that, and he said he had read the information that I forwarded, and he said, thank you, keep it coming.
that's awesome.
So that's
Good.
what I'm doing to kind of solidify a deal in the future.
That's awesome. Great. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Anything you guys came up with a little different for that campaign?
We had a number of good ideas, but one that Zion just shared was, you can always send a follow-up thank you text, but he likes doing a follow-up thank you video text. Takes, same amount of time, and it moves you from just a voice conversation if you haven't met before to I'm a real person, you don't need to be afraid of me or off put by me, which I thought was great and can easily be done. We also talked about the value of them getting it later. So schedule sending or setting yourself a reminder for a day or two, because that shows a higher level of intentionality and thoughtfulness as opposed to it necessarily being instantly. Just a couple thoughts.
I love that. Actually, that's great. I like setting it for a day later, 2 days later. That's awesome. So, and what you were just referring to, the first time home buyers. So if you guys don't know about this, Keller Inc. just came out with a book called Your First Home. Now, there's a small expense, but it could be a great gift for first time home buyers because it talks about that whole process. So you can look into that on Keller Inc. if you wanted to purchase those for first time home buyers. But these things are to make that first impression. So how are you standing out from the realtor next to you? So as we move into the next section, what are some ahas or takeaways from this portion, which is keep every lead? So let's get at least 3 takeaways from this section. On Zoom or in here?
How important it is to, be motivated to do meaningful follow-up on like a schedule,
Yeah,
rather than it like being like, hey, maybe I did a transaction, we just closed, this person, of course, is top of mind. But as soon as you get busier, there's gonna be multiple people that maybe deserve that same type of, feedback or touch or whatever it is.
yeah,
So utilize your database.
yes, awesome. 2 more.
We're creating a system. We're finding the lead, getting them into our database, starting out with a way to connect and cement the relationship, asking for permission to communicate, and then moving them into the 36 touch program. This is a
Love it
great.
there. One more, anybody else? One more. Come on, guys.
I'll
This
say,
is-
oh.
You go ahead.
Thank you. So I really liked what you said when you said, make sure each time you speak to a lead that they know that you're in real estate. They know how to contact you, and then they know how to refer business to you. I think those are 3 really important things to know. And I'm glad I wrote those down because, you know, it's really good to implement that every time you talk to a lead. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Great takeaway. Thank you for sharing. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next session, session 11, which is follow up with leads. So this goes hand in hand with this last section. So next we get into. Okay, there we go. So we can talk about keeping every lead. Now we're going to talk about following up with the leads. So what we're going to learn in this section is apply the lead conversion model, develop your system for capturing, cultivating, converting, and closing leads, and then apply proven methods to increase your conversation rate over time. So as you start thinking about what you will learn today, let's consider what questions you might have about this section and what you'd like to know about lead conversion. And before I do that, did we answer all the questions that we had in the beginning? So we had how many touches on average to convert leads? Did that answer your question kind of? Okay. Strategies to get leads to engage. I think we covered that, right? And I forget what the third one was, but I think we covered that one too. So, yeah, I think we got that one too. But if there's something that came up, just feel free to raise your hand. So lead conversion is an essential part in the lead follow-up process. We often assume that lead generation and lead conversion are the same, but that's really not the case. They're 2 totally different things, and they're just as important as each other. So at its core, lead generation is when you turn activities into leads. So those activities are prospecting and marketing. And then lead conversion happens after the lead and is captured and is part of lead follow-up. It is unique because these are the activities that turn leads into appointments with the end goal of a transaction. So it's great that we're getting leads, but if those leads just sit there, are they going to convert into business? Probably not. Right, Monica?
Right.
So I love this quote. I don't know if you guys have this in your books or not. And who wants to read this out loud for me? Someone in here, because I don't think you guys can see it.
The effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating.
Man,
That's so key.
what's that?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I was unmuted. I just said that's so key. I think, oh, how can I get in touch with these leads, or where can I get more? Oh, those were crappy leads. And I think the average agent doesn't take seriously beyond their personal SOI, the skill and effort and intentionality necessary to convert leads that they don't already have relationships with. That's a major growth opportunity for most agents.
Yeah, and I'm one of them. I just love it. I'm going to repeat it again. The effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating. We learned on our team a valuable lesson recently. We had a bunch of these Facebook and Boomtown leads, and some of the agents on our team kept saying, oh, they're garbage, they're not going to do anything, they're bad leads. Well, we already know there's no bad leads, right? No such thing as a bad lead. Well, as we started reconnecting with these leads, and there's probably a couple hundred in there that we just haven't talked to in 6 months, 12 months. I don't know, Monica, 10% probably already bought something.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
been quite a few.
Yeah, there's been a lot that we only reached out to once or twice and then didn't follow up with them, and a lot of them bought. And all that opportunity we could have had that we just missed. So it was a painful lesson, but a good
It's
one.
like adjusting, your outreach and like timing, because I feel like I struggle with that sometimes where I realize that after a couple touches, I haven't been able to get in touch with them personally,
Mhm.
like, two-way conversation. So maybe in addition to doing like an email, so that they have something that they can go back to at a convenient time. Maybe it's like calling them in the evening. And making reminders
Yes,
of that.
exactly. Get creative and do it different. Don't call the same person at the same time every single day. So if you don't get them in the morning, call them in the afternoon. If you don't get them in the afternoon, call them in the evening. Text them. You know, we had a campaign we were running where it was 12 to convert. So for 12 days, every day they would get a text, a phone call, and an email at different times of the day for 12 days. And then if we didn't get a hold of them, then they went into our 19 convert program. So just because they're not answering you doesn't mean they don't have a need yet. The point of all this is that when they do have that need, you're the first person they're thinking of, and they're like, Boris has been that guy. I know he does real
That guy
estate.
didn't just
Yeah,
Touching the hell out of it.
yeah. I get stuff for him. I get stuff for him all the time.
Easy.
So why do you think both activities deserve the same amount of time spent? No, we kind of just talked about it, but why do they deserve the same amount of time?
It's balanced.
Balance?
I think if you were to just, and I've gotten in this mindset recently, but like, okay, lead gen, I'm making a point to do it.
Yeah.
If I'm not also, laying out my day to say, okay, I actually have time to schedule for, converting leads too, then there's just missed opportunity.
Yeah. 100%. That's why we're missing opportunities. We're not scheduling and blocking our follow-up. We're missing opportunities. So turn to the lead conversion process page in your guide. Let's see. Okay, so I love this quote. So consistently getting every possible appointment from the leads you generate isn't complicated, but it does require preparation, practice, and purposeful action. That is from the SHIP book on page 86. So this starts at the top of the model with capture. So you must capture correct information and enough information to be able to contact the person. Then you move to connecting, building a connection, gaining information, and building trust. Finally, it ends for an appointment. Without the appointment, conversion hasn't happened, right? So when the conversion step does not result in an appointment, what do you suppose happens next? For you guys here, it's on the screen. Yes, you continue to cultivate the lead as part of your regular lead follow-up until they are ready to convert to an appointment. And again, this could be 2 years, this could be 5 years. On average, what is it that people are buying and selling houses? How many years? Talked about it earlier.
7 to 10.
7 to 10, right? Could be 10 years. If it's not you, it's gonna be somebody else. So after lead generation, lead conversion is the most business critical activity you must master. I'm gonna say that again. After lead generation, lead conversion is the most business critical activity you must master. It is where the possible business that comes from lead generating activities can turn into probable business and ultimately into profitable business. Converting the lead to an appointment has so much importance because it is how you have a chance to earn that earning income. Converting appointment to business is also a key to economic success. You'll learn more about this in day 14 of Ignite. So until then, we'll focus on the how now that you know the why. So any ahas so far from that first section that we just talked about? Just give me one. Anybody on Zoom or in here?
Just how important it is to just follow up with leads and get them onto that, that touch.
Do we overcomplicate it?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. I mean, I do.
And I like the idea that there's no bad lead. I I judge leads a lot, and then it's funny, just one that just not good work that you never would have thought was a good lead, and
Yeah.
then that's one. So,
It's crazy how that works. Yeah, there's no bad leads. So next, we're gonna get into the specific steps of lead conversion for converting leads to appointments. So this model will help provide structure for success and lay the groundwork for future accomplishments. So you have the lead conversion process in the guide, I believe.
11-4.
Cool. All right. So at its simplest, capturing is collecting the minimum amount of valid contact information for a potential buyer or seller. So first and foremost, it should include their name, their phone number, email preferably, and if you can get their address, that's great, but not 100% necessary right now. So what are some methods of capturing this information? So take a minute or so and come up with a few ways that you're capturing that information, names, phone numbers, emails.
I think a good ways to clarify.
No, this is, so how are you capturing this information when you connect with the lead? Yeah, exactly.
What did you say?
Like a squeeze page with my phone.
What did you say? For what?
That's like, those little things, the little box where you enter for an ad.
Yeah, for an ad.
So if they-
So like if you have a Facebook ad, when it pops up, they have to enter their information. So that's a way to capture people's information.
I think those. Like when they pop up. Work, so I think that's.
It does, and that's a huge debate too, is, people, if people, leads get to a site, whether to capture their information right away or let them browse. Well, studies show that you get more serious buyers or leads rather, if you capture it right away.
Like we have.
They're willing to put in the information.
Exactly, they're serious. So you kind of weed out a lot of the looky-loo people.
Chris, can you mute?
So sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Thanks.
We do that a lot, it's like we've done donut days, going to.
All right, so let's come back. Anybody want to share some things they came up with? I'll just look for one or two real quick.
Outright asking.
Yeah, I mean, outright asking, that's definitely a
pretty
way.
much all I've been doing. I haven't utilized other platforms or means to capture information. So yeah, at this point, it's purely just, when I talk to them for the first time, I usually ask at the end and I give them a reason why.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. So that if they have an additional question, it's almost like an objection to overcome, and then tell them, okay, well, this is, it's gonna be, something useful.
Yeah.
Obviously down the line, if you'd like it to be more refined.
Yeah. So some other examples are at open houses having a lead form. So when people are signing in, that you're collecting their information. QR codes is huge right now. So if you're, you have a postcard or you have an ad or whatever the case may be, having a QR code to collect information. So there's a bunch of different ways. So when you're capturing, it's important to know what you're going to say before starting the conversation too. You have this in your participant guide, conversation frameworks to ask for contact information. So some of this is if I were to need to contact you, what would that number be? If I found exactly what you are looking for, how would I contact you? If I found out that information you are wanting, how would I get it to you? But for the first step of capture, have a system in place, capture all the leads in your database and continue to cultivate the relationship using the touch campaigns. So all leads may not be ready for an appointment. We talked about this too. So your goal then is to gain mind share and continue to stay in close emotional proximity so that when they are ready, they think of you. So the second step is connect. So now that we captured the lead, we need to connect with them. Connecting is about laying the foundation for a working relationship. So what is important during this step is to listen, ask good questions, offer solutions, and keep the focus of the conversation on them. The goal of the communication, in addition to building the relationship, is to determine their urgency, give enough information to know how to prioritize this lead, and to help you know what touch campaign you can use as a follow-up plan. So what is important there to take away is that not all touch campaigns are going to be used for the same leads. So you're going to want to have different campaigns set up so you're using them appropriately. Now, Command has a bunch of them already built out, so you don't really even have to think about something. You just got to go in there and see what you like and start using them. So as you communicate, connect, keep these best practices in mind. Embed your value proposition into the conversation to position yourself as a local expert. 2, build and have confidence through knowing what you are going to say. And you can do this through role playing, practicing conversations, and know the market data. And to stay on this for a second, if you don't have a role play partner or accountability partner, I highly, highly urge you to go out and find one. That is going to be one of the best ways to sharpen your skills, especially for this market that's coming up. Find a role play partner and accountability partner and talk to them every day. It doesn't have to be long, 10-15 minutes, but it will excel your growth better than probably anything else right now. Number 3, use backward design when thinking about your communication. Think about the intended outcome before starting the conversation. Use questions to help lead them towards the appointment. You're gonna get better at those questions through script and role playing. All right, so turn to the 6 connection questions page in your participant guide. So connecting is more than just small talk. Your communication should seek to answer 6 basic questions. Who are they? What do they want or need to do? Where do they want or need to do it? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how do they plan to do it? So these questions also help whoever you are speaking to open up. So you have some examples in your guide of what those 6 connection questions might look like in the conversation. They may or may not work for your unique business, so take some time to plan out the framework for conversations that does work for your business. Make sure that you practice these conversations because it will help the conversation feel more natural, intentionally connect with the person and qualify them simultaneously. And don't forget, they mentioned in here the forward method of questions to further deepen the relationship. So in your guide, you will also find a list of questions categorized by buyers and sellers that you can customize and use in your business. As you go through the connection process and cultivate the relationship, you're going to learn more about the person and what they are looking to do. So as you learn if they are looking to buy or sell, you can start to use these questions as well. So I would go back through this too and just do that little activity on your own and come up with some questions that might fit more to your character or your business. Be sure to document conversations and their outcomes in your database immediately after talking to the potential buyer or seller. Keeping a strong, well-documented record of communication will help you know how to move the relationship forward, how to come from contribution in the future, and help you assess how to prioritize the lead. This is huge. Once you're done getting off the phone with somebody, you need to make sure either you're taking good notes and you're getting those notes into your database. Because you're not going to remember the conversation a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now. You might remember a few, but you're not going to remember them all. So the more detailed you can be when you call them again, let's say that when they were talking about their daughter graduating from college or whatever, you can ask how that went. You know, "Oh, yeah, I remember she was graduated. How was the ceremony or whatever?" Gives you a topic of conversation and then makes you more personable with them too. Notes are super, super important, and getting them into the database is just as important. Questions before we continue? So turn to lead conversion process, the cultivation page. So your goal in using the lead conversion model is to move immediately from capture to connect and to close. You'll find a small percentage of leads that won't be ready to convert to an appointment. So to keep mind share, you will use the touch campaign to stay in communication and cultivate the relationship until they are ready for an appointment. So we learned about the 19 to connect, the 1 to cement, and then 36 to convert. You will leverage these to stay in close contact until you can get an appointment. So as you start to implement your touch campaigns, you can always pursue creating your own touch campaigns to fit your business needs. It's recommended that you start with the 3 that have been introduced first until you have a solid understanding of how the touch campaigns work. I think the biggest takeaway from there is you got to stick with something for a good amount of time before you start trying different things. You're not going to know after a month if one of your touch campaigns are working or not. It might take 6 months. It could take 12 months. So before you start getting creative, and Gary Keller always says this too, is before you get creative, just stick to the basics and learn those first. And then once that happens, I know I'm butchering the way he says it, but until you master the basics, keep the creativity to a minimum. And Mark, if you know what that exact, or please chime in, because I know I'm saying it wrong. So why do you think agents struggle in the cultivation stage?
Everyone struggles with patience. And
Yeah,
you're basically
absolutely.
putting the work in and there's no guarantee of an end result.
I think you nailed it with that second one. Anybody else? Why do agents struggle with cultivation?
Because it takes a while.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I'm having a better understanding being a part of the class. I didn't know if I was, when or if I was overdoing the connecting
Yeah.
and what would turn a person off.
And in my opinion, I don't think you can over connect with somebody.
Mhm,
I'll let you know.
Yeah. If you're communicating with somebody too much,
mhm,
they're gonna be like, stop. And if they don't say stop, then keep going.
mhm.
And if they get rid of everything, then you know they weren't serious.
You know,
So
Chris-
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to comment that one of the reasons that I have failed in the cultivation stage is I'm chasing low hanging fruit. So the people that are ready to work for me now, sometimes you forget about the buyers that aren't quite ready yet. And that's what this is all about, is setting up a system so that we don't forget about them and we can still do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think over the last 2 years, we really forgot about that because things were moving so fast. So now that we're seeing a shift in the market, this is just so much more important to get back to these systems so we're not losing these people. So agents often struggle during this process, the cultivation part, because they do not have the right systems in place to continue the follow-up. So they let the lead slip and then get disappointed when they learn that the lead transacted with a different agent. Right, Jason? You shouldn't let the lead slide to someone else, especially when you have invested a lot. So don't let it go to waste. 1 to cement, 36 to convert will be the system that you put in place to cultivate your leads until they are ready for an appointment. So Shift says you can't know or predict when they will come to a decision. But if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. That's when you'll be able to close for an appointment. Page 105. All right. So now we are on turn to the close page for a participant guide. So we talked about cultivating, now we close. So the best way to work on closing for the appointment is through scripts and role playing. And practicing these conversations, asking for the close. I hear a lot of agents that don't ask for the close at the end of a conversation. It should be something that you just ingrain into yourselves. After every conversation, when you're on the phone with the lead, go for the appointment. Because the worst thing they could say is no, but if you don't ask, you're never gonna know.
Do you have a favorite close or does it?
Yeah,
just depend on who
when
you're
you want to
talking
meet, I have today at 4 or tomorrow at 5. That's it. It's that simple. Just ask. Let's see. So closing is when you ask for the appointment. Think of it in this framework. You are concluding one conversation and seeing if there's a new one that can take place. It is your responsibility to ask for the appointment. No one else can do that for you. Just like the touches you use to stay in emotional proximity have varying degrees of effectiveness, so does the format in which you ask for the close. So you could do it in text, you could do an email, phone call, or in person. Again, what are going to be the two that are the highest forms versus the weakest? Phone calls and in person. The least effective options are writing text message and emails. So since you are not communicating together in real time, you cannot immediately respond to any issues or questions they might have. Phone calls and in-person options are going to have the best effect on your lead conversion. So I'll use an example from yesterday. This guy was texting me a new lead I got, and the texts were delayed. So like I'd respond, and then an hour later he would respond. And then I'd respond, and then 2 hours later he would respond. I'm like, I just got to get this guy on the phone because we're missing the opportunity right now to go see these houses. So I'm like, hey, can you just call? And I tried calling him, he just wouldn't answer. I was like, hey, we really need to jump on a phone call. Can you give me a call sometime within the next hour or two? And he called me 5 minutes later, and we finally were able to get on the call and really establish everything that was confusing in the text. And then we set up the showings. So really try to get them on the phone. So when you're setting an appointment, what are the important elements to schedule? Sorry, I'm just reading the activity. So we're going to skip this because we are getting short on time here and I still have a little bit to get through. So first of all, you're not just looking for a yes as a response to asking for the appointment. Okay, yes is what you want. But as soon as you get the yes, you should immediately schedule the appointment at everyone's earliest convenience. And we talked about this. This means date, time, and location. Safety precaution. Keep in mind the location. We're gonna talk about this more in the transaction section when we cover buyer and seller consultations. But this is a safety measure. So if you're meeting somebody for the first time, make sure you know where you're meeting them, especially, buyers. Don't just run off to go show a house right away. If you have no idea who the guy is, maybe meet up at a Starbucks or a McDonald's first. Get him to sign your buyer's agreement or consumer guide or whatever the case, and then go to the house. And have a buddy system in place. Like sometimes if I'm going to a sketchy area or I don't know the person, I'll tell my wife to call me every 5 minutes or 10 minutes. If I don't answer, then, you know what to do. And I tell the client that too, when I meet them there. It's like, hey, just so you know, as a safety precaution, my wife's going to be calling me every 5 or 10 minutes. If I don't answer, we have a protocol.
And then would it be bad to ask them to send you their driver's license, or is that too much?
No, go for it.
Yeah.
There is forewarn. If you don't have forewarn, do you have it on your
I
phone?
do,
Yeah.
because I just met with someone and I was scared.
Yeah.
With that investor.
Yeah.
That, I found on Facebook, so I was scared and, I don't know, and I thought, from now on, I think I'm going to have them send me like a driver's license or something, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, is that too much? Like when I wanna send somebody my driver's license, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can even say, you can cross out I just wanna, your name and a driver's license with your name on it, so I can verify.
Like confirm.
Yeah.
What it is, because someone, let's just say you are utilizing for, which I have.
Yeah, which I do, yeah.
But they can completely bypass that.
That's what I'm saying,
Say
it could
there's
just give
somebody.
me a different name.
You
I
never
mean,
know.
yeah, you never know, and your life's way more important than a commission check.
So if they don't
So-
send you a DL after you ask for it, then you can kind of say, well, until you're able to give me this information, we'll just table this. For
Yeah.
Mike, wouldn't they be in forewarn though? Wouldn't everybody be in forewarn? I guess I'm not following what they're saying.
Yeah, they're just saying that they could just give you a false name though, and you don't know if you can't verify. it
I
with,
see.
like, an ID.
But you could do it by phone number.
Yeah, oh yeah, you're right, yeah, that's true too.
Can I
Yeah.
chime in real quick?
Yeah,
Not everybody is actually in forewarn. I don't know if you've noticed that, but some people have a new phone number.
okay, I didn't know
I think
that,
it's like 10 to 15%.
got it,
It's true.
yeah, so I mean.
Or
But their age or something.
So that's great to know. I did not know that. So it's a good tool. Then always back it up if you're that uncertain though. Ask them for, I don't think that's out of line whatsoever. Somebody can't share their information with you, then that's a red flag to me. So,
True, I mean, you're gonna get all that when they make the deal anyways.
exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
But you never know. I just wanted to chime in with some information regarding forewarn and a client that I had. I guess I made the mistake of not using forewarn first, and I took him out and showed him some investment properties, and these investment properties weren't the best ones, if you know what I'm saying. And this was just a lead that I got from my team leader at my other brokerage, and I reached out to him after the fact because I went on forewarn and I looked, and he had like 100 criminal infractions.
Wow.
Domestic violence, felonies, like the whole shebang, like the list went on and on, DUIs. But was super nice guy, but still, then that made me a little hesitant to follow up with him. And, I reached out to my team leader and said, hey, did you know about this guy and all of his, his criminal background? And he's like, no, he's a super nice guy. I'm like, well, so from then
Okay.
forward, I had my husband come with me to, the appointments and stuff, just being parked a little bit down the street, but being there because I was still a little bit nervous because of what I had found on forewarn. So from now on, before I go out with anybody, I always look on forewarn first.
Yeah, it's a great habit to get into. I mean, I can't stress safety enough,
So
so,
forewarn, we get through that MLS.
yeah, it's free through our board, I think. Or, I think if you talk to Megan or Holly, they can help get it set up for you.
Hi, I am trying to book an appointment for wax, and I can't do it online. It just keeps saying every time I book an appointment, it says that time is no longer available. So if someone could call me to book it, it's 216-990-7095. Thanks so much. Bye.
Yatra, you're on speaker. I don't know how that happened. All right, so moving on. So I want to read this quote. So in the end, if they can meet and have a good enough reason to meet, they will meet. And if they don't, they won't. And that's okay. You really don't care what their answer ultimately is because you're not getting people to do anything they don't want to do. You're just going to ask and respond until they agree that meeting with you makes sense, or it doesn't. Either way, you both win. So let's hear some ahas from this section so far. Let's get 2 ahas and we'll move on. We're almost done.
I think it's important that we're looking at how we ask things. I had one situation where I asked a question and the guy said no. And I was like, and I knew as soon as I said it, that was the wrong way to ask the question. So it's great creating those, so that if you give them 2 options that both is what you want.
Yeah. And it, oh, yeah, always be closing, ABC. Closer is for, coffee is for closers. I think what's important about that too is not asking yes or no questions, asking more open-ended questions, get the conversation going and continuing. But that's great. One more.
The models were created by people that are very, very experienced in the business and they work. So that's the foundation that we begin with when we get creative. This is my aha. When we get creative, creativity really is kind of an experiment, isn't it? So you don't really know what's going to happen when you try something on your own that nobody else has done before. So start with the models. That's the recommendation.
I love that. Thanks, Karen. All right, so moving on, we go to improve your conversion rate. So refer to the conversion rate page in your guide. So we learned the model, the steps and the actions to take to convert a lead to an appointment. Now we're going to dig deeper into what a conversion rate is and how it can inform your business decision. So your conversion rate refers to the percentage of leads you ask for an appointment to those that agree to the appointment. For example, you may ask 10 leads for an appointment and succeed in setting 8 appointments. That's an 80% conversion rate. The ultimate goal is to increase your skills so you can convert at the highest percentage possible. The higher the percentage, the more leads have converted to appointments. If you are converting at a low percentage, this should tell you that you have a lead conversion challenge. The challenge is not the number of leads generated, but your ability to get them to an appointment. So what I really want to stress about this part is you should always be tracking your numbers, no matter what you're doing. You should be tracking your leads, you should be tracking your appointments, and the ones that actually set appointments and appointments gone on. And then you track your under contracts or listings taken or whatever the case may be. This is going to help determine where you need to focus your skill set on. So just like it says in here, if you have 100 leads and let's say you only convert 10 to an appointment, well, we know we have an appointment conversion problem. So we got to work on your scripts and role play to learn how to have the right conversations to get those people to an appointment. And if you're going on appointments, let's say you have the leads, you're setting the appointments, but then you're not converting those appointments to business. Well, we know we have a conversion problem there between the appointment and the business. We need to work on that skill set. Make sense? And we're going to work on that through script and role play, which all these systems and tools are in KW for us to use. Again, go find a script and role play partner. We have everybody on Zoom that's taking this class, people in the room. It will do wonders for you. So sometimes the lead conversion is based on your total number. Oh, somebody saying something? No? Okay. Sometimes the lead conversion is based on your total number of leads in your database. Sometimes it's based just on the leads that are being cultivated at a current time. What is important is to evaluate your business and what works for you, and then repeat that same measure of success each time you calculate your conversion rate. So I think there's an activity about converting the conversion calculator in there. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a few minutes to do your conversion rates right now. And if you don't know them, guess. Okay, take about 3 minutes. All right, so hopefully everybody had enough time to do that. Anybody want to share some of their results from that exercise? Love to hear from two people on their conversion ratios, what they are. It's okay, whatever they are, it's okay. That's why we're doing this. If you don't know And you
I'll
could-
share because I'd like to get some
Yeah.
feedback on how, exactly what these mean in relation to my business, so.
them, okay,
So I have, for A, how many new people do you meet a week? I'm not sure if that's
yeah,
appropriate, but I did 3.
okay,
How many of these meet your definition of a lead? I'm very meaningful or purposeful with people I talk to, so 3.
okay,
And then how many of those leads become appointments? 2.
2,
1 to 3, yeah. And
Okay.
then how many appointments sign contract? 1.
okay.
So
you're
with those numbers, contacts to leads conversion is 100, leads to appointments conversion is 67, and appointments to leads taken is 50.
Yeah.
Overall, the emphasis here is maybe just beyond this diagram or these calculations, but I haven't been as consistent in doing a multitude of conversations.
Yeah,
But there's been very meaningful conversation, thus higher conversion rate.
so my question is, are those numbers gonna get you to the goals that you want?
Great question. I don't have that, my.
Yeah.
call it,
So I think it's looking at that first, because if it's not, then you have to up your conversations.
Yeah, right.
And then you're gonna start getting a better idea of conversion ratios. Say you're meeting 20 new people a week.
Yeah.
And Mets can be people you haven't, talked to on the phone too. But if you're talking to 20 people a week and you're converting 2 appointments, and then out of those 2 appointments, you're converting 1, we know we have a lead to appointment conversion problem. So then if you're talking to 20 people and you're setting 15 appointments and you're only taking 1, then we know we have an appointment to business lead conversion problem. Make sense? Awesome, thanks for sharing. Anybody else? One more? And then we'll wrap up here.
I see mine a little different. I didn't do it on people I met a week. I did it on people I contacted a week. My goal, just starting out, has been 5 a week.
Okay,
I would say, so that's 20, I do 4 days, and then how many of those meet your definition of a lead? Probably 5 out of the 20.
okay,
And then how many became appointments? I was able to set last week, 2 appointments. Both of them did sign contracts. My numbers were like 40, 60, and 100. That's why I wasn't sure what those meant, but
yeah,
my weak area, I think I drew out of that was really making them from a contact to an actual lead, like that whole lead to appointment is probably where I need
to
to.
focus on, yeah. And you're gonna be able to do that through scripts. Working on those conversations. Awesome, thanks for sharing. So next, we are going to look at ways to improve our conversion rates. So you have a improve your conversion rate page there. So once you understand your conversion rate, you can move from E to P, which we learned about on day 1. It's one of the 6 personal perspectives. So this is when you get more purposeful in improving your conversion rate. Gaining insight and getting more purposeful will ultimately bring you more closed transactions. Some activities you can engage in to improve your conversion rates might include time blocking for lead conversion. If you erase it, what do? If we erase, we replace. If we erase it, we replace it. So time blocking it. And then the conversations and systems. So practice conversations, dialogues, asking for the close, mastering your buyer and seller presentations, relationships. Conversations are a powerful tool that can help you say what you intend to say in the most powerful and impactful way. So use the systems that support lead conversion in your business. Systems make sure you take the right steps at the right time and continue to keep and gain mind share. 3, don't neglect any part of your database. Reconnect with each person. And when you do, remember to ask for referrals. Go back to those 3 things. Make sure they know you're still in real estate. Make sure they know how to get a hold of you. Make sure they know how to send you referrals. Conversion activities are not just for leads. They're also for your sphere and contacts. Come from care, curiosity, and contribution, and get back in relationship with past clients. That's a big one right now. So we need to continue to protect our database. It's constantly at attack. It's at attack from other agents. It's being attacked from bigger companies like Zillow, Realtor.com, and so many other ones. So how are you protecting your database? And know who to prioritize. In an upcoming session in the lead follow-up segment, you will learn how to prioritize potential clients. Prioritize converting those qualified leads while still working on the rest of your database. So every lead has a potential to turn into business, and as you have already heard, there are no bad leads. So with the lead conversion model, this is what we've learned: how to capture the appropriate information so you can connect with the lead, connect to assess their needs and establish a relationship, cultivate the relationship. Not all people will convert directly to an appointment, so use touch campaigns to stay top of mind. And number 4, close by asking for the appointment. You are in control of the ask, no one else is. So
The answer is no unless you ask.
that's right. So we ended pretty much on time. So before we wrap up, I want a couple takeaways. I would love to hear from somebody on Zoom. And then we'll get everybody out of here. So takeaways from this whole session. That's one. Follow up is what she said. Yes. I love that.
Just how important my database is to converting leads to, you know, close deals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you'll hear, I don't know if they talked about it yet, but you might in future Ignite classes. You should get anywhere from an 8 to 10% return in your database. So if you have a database of 100 people, you should be getting 10 deals out of that roughly, or 8 to 10 deals roughly.
In
If-
a lifetime?
No, in a year.
In a year?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're communicating with your database the right way, those are the results you should yield. If you have nothing set up, you're not gonna get anything. One more aha. Anybody on Zoom? Takeaway, aha.
Same thing here. Follow up. We have another event at 11, so we've got to take off, but
Okay.
thank you so
All right.
much.
Thanks, guys. And if anybody needs to reach me again, C Mascarino at KW. My phone number is 440-227-2615. Thank you all for being here and spending time with me today. Appreciate it. Was that good, valuable today?
That's really good.
Yeah. Awesome.